Welcome to my presentation on multicultural literature in the classroom. This presentation is from a class that I took at the University of St. Joseph in West Hartford, Connecticut called Education 582 Multicultural Literature. My name is Nancy Marchak, and let's talk about multicultural literature. Introduction. We should put forth to our students a mirror into multicultural literature, letting it act as an avenue to the world of many cultures. Allowing literature to inspire us to become more united and accepting of one another will lighten the pathways of our lives to be fulfilling. Since our society is ever expanding in diversity, it is important to learn all that we can to truly create a welcoming classroom atmosphere. Multicultural literature helps to stimulate an understanding of diversity in the classroom, and it helps the youngest citizens of our world today become the extraordinary citizens of tomorrow that this world needs. All right, so let's talk about multicultural literature, where strength lies in our differences and not so much in our similarities. Multicultural literature is one of the most powerful tools that we can use in the classroom to enable students to gain a better understanding of their own culture and the culture of others. So multicultural literature includes literature about people who are considered to be outside the mainstream of society and have been marginalized in some way. Multicultural literature focuses on people of color from diverse cultural, linguistic, and religious backgrounds. Students need to be able to make connections in their own lives, and then between literature and their own lives, and then between literature and the lives of others around them. So that will build a community of learners that they can reflect and respond to from something that, a tangible item like a book, that they can learn to question and learn to notice. So it's a really great way to begin, including multicultural instruction in the classroom. Literature, we know, can provide children with a sense of affirmation about themselves and their culture, but we want them to build a greater understanding about their own cultures and learn to have or gain a respect for people who are different than them, maybe from other cultures. Other benefits might include developing their vocabulary, stimulating their imagination, giving them a sense of empathy, and helping them learn to build a positive self-concept of themselves and of their own identities that are developing over time. Okay, what does the research say? I have some sources below at the resources slide at the end of this presentation, but let's start with the main points that I kind of pulled out of some of the research for multicultural literature is taking care to choose appropriately. When choosing your multicultural literature for your classroom, it's important to not offend any cultural group that you're sharing about, and you don't want to be afraid of this. You just want to take care that you're choosing something that is applicable to your classroom community for that year, or your school community for that school year. And those multicultural literature books are probably going to change for you from year to year. I can't stress enough that it is important that you read through them and really look at what books you're choosing prior to presenting them to the class, just to make sure that you are doing that take care step. Next, we want to promote cross-cultural friendships by including multicultural literature in your classroom that is applicable to your classroom environment. You are promoting the interaction of children across differing ethnic backgrounds. So this literature must be free of stereotypes and language. The illustrations must portray accurately the character traits or the behavior in the pictures, the gender roles, the language characteristics in the book. A lot of times in multicultural books they'll have phonetic spelling so that you can pronounce words accurately. So definitely take care to look through some of those text features so that you can do your best to share that piece of literature to promote those friendships and understandings between the children and their different backgrounds. And last, it influences identity formation. As children grow, they're growing to find their sense of place in the world and their sense of belonging. So identity formation is important in the social development of all children as it gives them a sense of belonging and acceptance in society. Okay, multicultural literature action steps. I found 6 points here that students need a foundation of experience with the multicultural literature from a very young age in order to be able to meet their diverse cognitive, academic, social, emotional needs. I found in an issue of Gifted Child magazine, 1999, long time ago, but I still found that it really holds some value in having those points be concise. A group of researchers stated there that there are 6 goals to teaching multicultural education, which can be acquired now more readily in the ever-expanding multicultural literature titles. Like every time I turn around, that section in the library keeps growing, which is really wonderful to see. So let's build our knowledge. Knowledge increases self-worth and belief in students so that they can come to know their future and can be successful. Their education equity. The belief that everyone has an equal opportunity to learn, belief that it's possible for all to be successful to learn, and belief that everyone, no matter their limitations that they face, can grow to their full potential. Cultural pluralism. Teachers modify educational conditions in order to adapt to the learning needs in understanding, respect, and appreciation of others. And empowering them. Empowerment, helping students become independent learners who take active roles to improve their environments and communities. A lot of times we focus just in the classroom, but empower them to be citizens of the world. Social action, that's a good lead into social action. Providing skills in the classroom which will provide students with the ability to grow and live to be people who can work and learn from one another. And then there's the multicultural perspective, which is seeing that studying cultural systems that challenge the assumptions and stereotypes to assist students to question, assert themselves, and be active. Okay, through multicultural literature, you're able to open many doors and cross over barriers to reach your students. Books can provide students with one-on-one instruction about a culture when you may not be able to find the time. So having that lending library or being able to visit your library in your school or in your community will be important as those databases are becoming full of opportunities to use multicultural literature. You want to be able to open up a world of opportunities to all your students. So reflecting on this, I want to say goodbye to the comfy literature approach and realize that it's not my role to push my own literature on them all the time because it's what I'm comfortable with or it's what I've always done. So rather I want to focus and take my courage to stray away from who I was with literature and expand so that my students can be led into a bigger world. Audience listens. This is a great importance for me to be able to connect children to multicultural literature so that they can come to be able to relate to characters and situations found in the books, reflective of their own culture. We constantly ask kids to make connections to stories, yet if we don't have enough of a variety of stories, how can they really intimately and personally be able to connect to them? So multicultural literature is a great bridge to that. Encouraging relationships. Multicultural literature provides deeper knowledge which can build relationships that strengthens relationships between students from diverse cultural backgrounds. The saying knowledge is power and understanding is empathy is really powerful, that you can begin to encourage building that in your classroom and sharing that type of literature with students. It will have the ability to help them develop those respectful, empathetic, and acceptance amongst their peers. Okay, so conceptual framework, the two out of the 11 values that I chose from the University of St. Joseph conceptual framework model are diversity, developing knowledge of diversity to share in the classroom by including learning style differences in diverse and at-risk students as research topics embedded with lectures and classroom assignments. That's the value itself, but just my being able to include different styles of learning and presenting different cultures in different ways will help me grow as well as my students grow in each year with each new batch of ready to learn learners. Second one I chose is just having that compassionate of heart is evidenced by expressed belief that all children can learn. The necessary disposition is developed and embraced as candidates discuss their work, support, and critique one another during peer collaboration projects and modeled in interactions between instructor and candidate. This was a great course at the University of St. Joseph where we did a lot of work to find the different categories of sorting multicultural literature so that we had a library of titles that we shared with one another. So I encourage maybe you to do that with your colleagues as well, to be able to kind of build your knowledge with multicultural literature as it might not be familiar, so that you can share that compassion of heart with your classroom without having to dig. You'll start to remember titles as much as you remember titles like Goodnight Moon and Over in the Meadow, and any Dr. Seuss title that might be your favorite. Okay, lots of references here from this presentation and just some of the ones that I used for this course. Thank you for staying for this presentation, and I'll see you in the next module. A couple more to go.